What if the real American dream isn't in America anymore? What if thousands of African Americans are turning their backs on the land of the free for a new beginning 5,000 miles away? In this series, we uncover the powerful and emotional truth behind the modern-day exodus to Ghana, a story of pain, healing, and the search for true belonging. Stay with us. For generations, African Americans have searched for a place to truly call home, a place beyond the shadows of systemic racism, social injustice, and a fractured identity. While America has offered dreams, it has also delivered deep-rooted trauma. And now, a rising wave of Black Americans are packing up, crossing the Atlantic, and resettling in Ghana. But why Ghana? Why now? This isn't just about returning to ancestral roots. This is about reclaiming dignity, community, and peace. It's about stepping into spaces where the color of one's skin isn't a target, but a crown. Ghana has quietly opened its arms through policies like the Year of Return and Beyond the Return, initiatives that have sparked a global movement. These campaigns invited members of the African diaspora to reconnect with their heritage, not as tourists, but as brothers and sisters coming home. In 2019 alone, over 1 million visitors flocked to Ghana. For many, it was life-changing. Some stayed. Some returned with plans to build. And for thousands, that visit was the first step in leaving the United States behind, permanently. What's pushing this movement? For some, it's police brutality. For others, it's the psychological toll of always being the other. It's the feeling of walking through life with a target on your back, a resume filtered by your name, and a future limited by systems you never created. But in Ghana, many African Americans describe an emotional release. They speak of breathing differently. Of walking through markets, streets, and cities where they are the majority, where their hair, their skin, and their history are not questioned, but normalized. It's not a perfect paradise. Ghana has its challenges, like any country. But to those who've left behind the weight of Western racial tension, Ghana offers something rare: peace of mind. Take the story of Jessica, a teacher from Chicago. After visiting Ghana on a cultural tour, she felt something shift. "It was the first time I felt human in a long time," she said. Within a year, she resigned from her job, sold her belongings, and moved. Today, she teaches English in Accra and runs a small Afrocentric bookstore. Her story isn't unique. Doctors, engineers, artists, and retirees have made the move. Many cite the ability to start over, build businesses, and raise children in what they feel is a safer and more affirming environment. But the decision isn't always easy. There's culture shock, bureaucracy, and financial hurdles. Some struggle to adjust. Others return home after a few years. Still, the desire remains, to escape the limitations of American racism and write a new chapter in a land that feels spiritually aligned. The movement also raises complex questions. Can one truly return to a homeland generations removed? Can diaspora identity be rooted in a place never seen before? These questions are not answered easily. But for many African Americans, Ghana represents hope. A living symbol of African pride and resilience. And it's not just symbolism, it's policy. The Ghanaian government has granted citizenship to hundreds of African Americans, encouraging investment and integration. Real estate in Accra is booming. Diaspora-owned cafes, schools, and cultural centers are rising. A quiet revolution is underway, not with protests, but with passports. These choices are rewriting the narrative. Instead of waiting to be accepted, many are choosing to belong elsewhere. And Ghana is answering that call. As the number of African Americans relocating to Ghana continues to grow, so do the stories of transformation, challenge, and discovery. Many come with dreams of healing and reconnection, but what they find is often a mixture of beauty and complexity. Ghana is not a utopia, and for many newcomers, the transition reveals both unexpected joys and hidden hurdles. One of the first realities that many face is navigating cultural differences. While African Americans and Ghanaians share ancestry, they often differ in language, mannerisms, expectations, and daily customs. This can create moments of misunderstanding. Some African Americans report feeling welcomed with warmth, while others describe subtle resistance or skepticism. "We look the same, but we don't speak the same," said Malcolm, a business consultant from Atlanta who moved to Kumasi. "There's a learning curve, but there's also deep respect once trust is built. That trust takes time." Ghanaians are proud of their traditions, and respect for elders, community cohesion, and protocol matter deeply. For some African Americans, especially those used to Western individualism, this shift in values requires adjustment. At the same time, many express gratitude for the slower pace of life, the sense of belonging, and the freedom from racial profiling. Economically, relocation can be both an opportunity and a challenge. Some entrepreneurs have thrived, opening guest houses, fashion boutiques, and consulting firms. Others struggle with the bureaucratic process of permits, taxation, and land ownership laws. Ghana's real estate market is expanding, but prices in major cities like Accra have skyrocketed. This has created tension with locals who fear being priced out by returning diaspora. In response, some community leaders have begun promoting inclusive development models that ensure both locals and returnees benefit from economic growth. Beyond economics, education has become a major focus. Many African American families moving to Ghana are drawn by the desire to raise children in an environment where their identity is affirmed, not attacked. They are enrolling their kids in private international schools or even building their own homeschooling networks. "My daughter used to come home crying because of her hair," said Monique, a mother of two who left New York. "Now she walks into class and sees girls who look just like her. That's priceless." Healthcare, however, remains a concern. While Ghana has made progress in healthcare infrastructure, many returnees opt for private clinics, and some still fly back to the U.S. for major procedures. Adjusting to medical standards, medication availability, and insurance options can be complicated. Despite these issues, the emotional impact of relocating remains overwhelmingly positive for many. The ability to live in a place where your skin isn't politicized, where history is shared, not erased, and where ancestral ties are visible in faces and names, this is a powerful motivator. And the Ghanaian government is paying attention. Officials have created task forces to support diaspora integration, provide guidance on legal matters, and connect newcomers with trusted local networks. Festivals like Panafest and Afrokella have become cultural bridges, uniting Africans and African Americans in music, fashion, and dialogue. Social media, too, plays a role. Platforms like YouTube and Instagram are filled with vloggers sharing their relocation journeys, offering tips, warnings, and inspiration. These digital diaries are helping demystify the process and build virtual communities that extend across borders. Still, not everyone stays. Some African Americans return to the U.S., disappointed by challenges or simply missing home. But even those who leave often say they return changed. They carry with them a renewed sense of identity, and in many cases, a deeper understanding of what it means to be Black in a global context. This movement to Ghana is not just physical, it's spiritual, psychological, and generational. It is a search for healing, justice, and home. The return of African Americans to Ghana has sparked both excitement and reflection across the broader African continent. While the movement may be most visible in Accra, its ripples are spreading far beyond. Other countries like Senegal, Gambia, and Sierra Leone are also recognizing the importance of reconnecting with the diaspora and the opportunity it presents. Governments are beginning to see diaspora engagement not just as a cultural initiative, but as a diplomatic and economic strategy. This trend has historical roots. During the Pan-African movement of the mid-20th century, leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and Haile Selassie envisioned a united Africa that welcomed its sons and daughters from across the seas. They saw the diaspora as a bridge between the continent and the global stage, and today, that vision is gaining new relevance. For African Americans arriving in Ghana, there is often a sense of spiritual completion, standing on soil where ancestors once stood, reclaiming names, culture, and history that were stripped away through centuries of slavery and colonization. But this process is also complicated. It forces a confrontation with painful legacies, both in Africa and in the West. The transatlantic slave trade left deep scars, and while many African communities were victims, others played roles as intermediaries. This truth can be uncomfortable for both sides. However, instead of avoiding the past, many believe the healing lies in honest dialogue. Organizations have started holding reconciliation tours, where African Americans and local communities engage in ceremonies of remembrance, apology, and mutual understanding. These emotional moments, held at former slave castles, riversides, and ancestral grounds, have created powerful bonds. They do not erase the past, but they acknowledge it with dignity. Beyond ceremony, returnees are increasingly engaging in nation-building. Some are investing in local farms, renewable energy projects, and youth empowerment programs. Others are working in education, offering mentorship and scholarships to Ghanaian students. Their contributions are helping to reshape the narrative around the diaspora, from visitors to partners. But challenges persist. Language remains a barrier in some areas. Tribal dynamics and local politics can also be difficult to navigate for those unfamiliar with the terrain. There's also the perception among some locals that African Americans come with entitlement or unrealistic expectations. To counter this, many returnees emphasize humility, listening, and learning as central to integration. Community-led forums and joint cultural projects are helping bridge the gaps. On the flip side, many African Americans express a deep sense of gratitude and belonging. They share stories of being welcomed into families, given local names, and embraced during traditional festivals. These human connections often become the most meaningful part of their journey. Media plays a growing role in shaping the conversation. Documentaries, blogs, and interviews featuring African Americans in Ghana have gone viral, drawing the attention of global audiences. The world is watching as a new chapter in diaspora history unfolds, not through political speeches, but through the everyday lives of people who dared to seek something different. This migration also forces a re-evaluation of identity. What does it mean to be African? Can someone who was born in Los Angeles, speaks only English, and has never set foot on the continent, truly be African? For some, the answer lies not in blood or geography, but in intention. Choosing to reconnect, invest, learn, and love Africa, these actions carry weight. The definition of African identity is expanding. Ghana's invitation to the diaspora has done more than boost tourism. It has reopened a global conversation about belonging, justice, and the future. And perhaps, most importantly, it has reminded the world that Africa is not just a place of departure, it is also a destination. A place of return. A place of becoming. As more African Americans relocate to Ghana and other parts of Africa, a broader conversation is unfolding, one that touches on global migration patterns, identity politics, and the long-term impact of systemic racism in Western societies. This movement is not simply an emotional or symbolic gesture, it is becoming a significant geopolitical and economic trend. Analysts and scholars are beginning to recognize the migration of African Americans as a form of reverse migration that challenges the traditional notions of the American dream. Instead of pursuing success and security in the West, many are now seeking fulfillment, stability, and peace on the African continent. For decades, the narrative was that people moved from Africa to the U.S. for a better life. Today, that narrative is reversing, and it's forcing a re-evaluation of what better truly means. Ghana's role in this shift is unique. Unlike countries that passively observe diaspora interest, Ghana has actively positioned itself as a home for return. The government has not only welcomed African Americans but also extended opportunities for business, citizenship, and cultural integration. This forward-thinking approach is setting an example across Africa. Countries like Rwanda, Tanzania, and Senegal are beginning to explore similar strategies to engage the diaspora, recognizing that the global Black community holds immense potential, both economically and culturally. But with opportunity comes responsibility. Critics argue that simply moving to Africa doesn't erase centuries of trauma or dismantle the structures that created displacement in the first place. They warn against romanticizing Africa as a land of escape without acknowledging its own challenges, such as poverty, corruption, and political instability. For African Americans, adapting to these realities requires patience, humility, and a willingness to engage authentically. Still, many find that the benefits outweigh the difficulties. They speak of raising children who grow up with a sense of pride instead of fear. They talk about building businesses without facing racial discrimination. They describe walking through airports, stores, and neighborhoods without being viewed as threats. These are everyday freedoms that many took for granted until they were stripped away. Stories continue to emerge. A retired police officer who opened a security consultancy in Accra, a nurse who launched a wellness center in Cape Coast, a filmmaker documenting the experiences of returnees across West Africa. Each story adds a layer to the growing mosaic of Black migration. Social impact is also growing. Returnees are starting nonprofits, hosting community workshops, and investing in local infrastructure. They are not just living in Ghana, they are shaping it. They are also reshaping themselves. Many speak of emotional healing that comes not only from being in Africa, but from stepping outside the trauma narratives that have defined their lives in America. In Ghana, they are not minorities. They are not other. They are simply people. That shift in identity can be deeply liberating. But not everyone understands or supports the movement. Some critics in the U.S. view the exodus as escapist, even unpatriotic. Others in Ghana worry about cultural clashes or economic imbalances. These concerns are valid and deserve ongoing dialogue. The success of this migration depends on mutual respect, education, and policy frameworks that prioritize inclusive development. What is clear, however, is that this movement is not a trend. It is not a moment. It is a quiet revolution, unfolding family by family, decision by decision. African Americans are not fleeing, they are choosing. Choosing a new life, a new path, and a new definition of home. The story of African Americans relocating to Ghana is not just about geography, it's about rewriting legacy. It's a movement shaped by history, driven by injustice, but guided by hope. Each person who makes the journey becomes a thread in a new tapestry of Black global identity, one that transcends borders and reframes the meaning of belonging. For centuries, the legacy of slavery, segregation, and systemic racism has confined Black identity within narrow definitions. But now, this movement is pushing against those limits. It says, we are not victims of history, we are authors of the future. In Ghana, the past is not forgotten, but it does not define every interaction. Instead, history becomes a bridge. African Americans are visiting the slave castles of Elmina and Cape Coast, not to dwell in pain, but to honor the ancestors and reclaim the narrative. The air in those dungeons is thick with memory, but outside their walls, life continues with joy, resilience, and rebirth. It is this duality that gives the movement its power, the ability to carry the past while building something new. The digital era has amplified this wave. Through vlogs, interviews, and documentaries, African Americans in Ghana are sharing their stories with the world. Platforms like YouTube and TikTok have become modern-day vessels for Pan-African connection. These videos don't just show beautiful landscapes, they show real life, setting up a bank account, learning Twi, navigating local markets, attending naming ceremonies, and starting businesses. It is through these daily moments that the abstract idea of return becomes real. But the return is not one way. Ghanaians are also learning and benefiting. The diaspora brings skills, capital, and global networks. From fashion and tech to education and wellness, returnees are enriching local industries and inspiring a new generation of African youth to think globally and act locally. Cultural exchange is flowing both ways. Ghanaians are gaining exposure to African American perspectives, while returnees are immersing in African traditions and values. This symbiosis is what makes the movement sustainable. Governments, too, are beginning to think long-term. Policies on dual citizenship, diaspora investment, and real estate regulation are being refined to ensure the transition is smooth and mutually beneficial. As this grows, other African countries are taking note. Could Nigeria, Kenya, or South Africa be next? Could Africa become not just the ancestral homeland, but the future hub of Black excellence worldwide? For many, the answer is yes. Still, no journey is without sacrifice. Leaving behind family, familiar systems, and American comforts is not easy. Many returnees speak of missing loved ones, struggling with homesickness, and facing unexpected challenges in daily life. But they also speak of healing, deep, soul-level healing, that they never thought possible. They describe laughing more, sleeping better, and walking through life with lighter hearts. They talk about their children growing up proud of their roots, learning their history, and dreaming without limits. These are not small things. These are the foundations of generational transformation. In the end, the choice to move to Ghana is personal. It's not for everyone. But for those who answer the call, it becomes more than relocation, it becomes restoration. It's about returning to a place you've never been, but somehow always known. A place where your ancestors once walked, and where your descendants may thrive. A place where you are not merely tolerated, but seen, heard, and embraced. And that, perhaps, is the most revolutionary act of all.